Hello students, hope you are fit and healthy. So today we are going to discuss about human respiratory system. Here I show you the diagram of human respiratory system. Our respiratory organ is lungs. Here you see this is the right lungs and this is the left lungs. Right? There are associated respiratory organs. Let us see. First, nostrils. Nostrils, the openings of nose. So, a pair of nostrils which lead into the nasal passage or the nasal cavity. Nasal cavity leads to pharynx. This portion that is called the pharynx, a passage, right? And this pharynx enters into pharynx lead to the air tube or windpipe, or which is also called trachea, right? Trachea breaks into two branches. Each branch enters into each lungs, right? When it enters into the lungs, it breaks into smaller branches. It gives more smaller branches, and each branch, small branch ends into the small red color structure which I have drawn. These are called the air sacs or alveoli. So these are the parts of human respiratory system. A structure here I have drawn. See, this is diaphragm. Diaphragm actually a muscular sheet which is forming the floor of the chest cavity. Lungs, which is situated in our chest cavity, which are guarded by or protected by the ribs, right? The rib cage which is protecting our lungs. Sometimes when you eat in a hurry, talk or laugh while eating, you may cough, get hiccups or a choking sensation. This happens when food particles enter the windpipe. The windpipe carries air from the nostrils to the lungs. So, the windpipe, this is the windpipe which I have drawn with brown, right? So, air from the nostril, it enters into the windpipe, right? But inside the throat, air and food share a common passage. What is it called? That is called pharynx. Pharynx is the common passage shared by the food pipe and the windpipe. Food we take, it enters into the oral cavity or the buccal cavity, and after that it enters into the food pipe. See, the food pipe I have drawn with black. Right, so food enters into the food pipe, air from the nostril through this nasal passage, and it enters into the windpipe or the trachea, right? But at times, if by chance food particles enter the windpipe, we feel choked, because so this is the air windpipe. If food enters over here, we feel choked, right? Because the passage of air get blocked, right? So, how food is prevented from entering the windpipe? During the act of swallowing, a flap-like valve. So, when we take the food, at the time, a flap-like valve closes the passage of the windpipe. So, a flap-like valve-like structure which is closing the windpipe, so that the food does not enter into the windpipe, and it goes to the food pipe. Right? And now let us learn about the mechanism of breathing. Normally, we take in air through our nostrils. When we inhale air, it passes through our nostrils into the nasal cavity. The air reaches our lungs through the windpipe. Lungs are present in the chest cavity. The cavity is surrounded by ribs on the sides. A large muscular sheet called diaphragm forms the floor of the chest cavity. So these are the rib cage, inside which I have drawn with pink. This is the lungs which is present inside the rib cage. And this muscular sheet, that is actually the diaphragm. Breathing involves the movement of diaphragm and the rib cage. You know, one breath means one inhalation and one exhalation. So first, inhalation. During inhalation, ribs move up. Ribs move up and diaphragm moves down. The diaphragm moves down. This movement increases space inside our chest cavity, and air rushes into the lungs. So air rushes into the lungs. During exhalation, ribs move down and inwards. It moves down and inwards, while diaphragm moves up. During inhalation, it moves down, and during exhalation, it moves up to its former position. This reduces the size of the chest cavity and air is pushed out of the lungs. This movement can be felt easily. Take a deep breath. Keep your palm on the abdomen. Feel the movement of abdomen. Now what happens to the air which has entered into our lungs? When it has entered into the lungs, that means through this bronchus or the branch of the windpipe, it is entering into the lungs. This branch which gives rise to smaller branches. So air through the smaller branches it enters, and ultimately it comes to the air sacs or the alveoli. Here oxygen of the air is taken in and carbon dioxide is given out. Carbon dioxide through the reverse direction goes out of the body. So today we have learnt how do we breathe. Thank you, students.